Welcome to Tammy Nation. Let's go.
From 9 to 5, been biting my tongue for all this time. Won't let anyone cut me short. I was thinking this was the way to go, and you put up your puppet show. I say cheers to life. No, I'll be no good man's wife. Just leave me alone. I'm running the show. I'm telling you, it's my time to rise up. Live the life I'm proud of. No, you better go.
Hey, happy Friday evening, everybody. It's September 22nd, 2023. Welcome to Tammy Nation this evening. I thought it'd be a great way to wrap up our week so we could enjoy our weekend and just get a wrap up of what's going on in the headlines and the news and the different things in the world. As usual, it's still crazy all week long and a lot's been going on, but there's some things that piqued my interest that are out of the ordinary that I thought I'd like to share with you guys. And hey, Garrett, good to see you. Also good to see you, or know that you guys are out there who are watching and not commenting. That's absolutely fine. But feel free anytime you have anything to say in the chat, go ahead, and I appreciate it. So let's get on with it. I'm going to start with LIN Wood, you guys. It's been a long time since I've covered him or thought about him, actually, because he's been awfully quiet. He's mostly on Telegram. He's pulled away from all the different events and people that he used to run with. He's been dealing with a lot of issues regarding his character, his lawyer's license, and all that going on. He's the one that I first actually learned about all the horrible atrocities that were going up against the children and all of that. I was new to that. I had no idea that any of that was going on with them. And he's the one that brought it to the forefront. And I thought he did a good job when I was first introduced to it, because as horrifying as it is, I know that it's knowledge that we need to know, whether it's hard to handle or not. We have to defend the children at all costs. So he was very vocal about it at the time a few years ago. And now there's people coming out against him saying he flipped on Trump. And why is that? It's because he's been subpoenaed by the DA's office in Fulton County, Georgia here for the case against Sidney Powell. So there are both sides. First of all, if you get a subpoena in Georgia, if you can Google it, you have to comply with the terms of that subpoena. If you don't, you could face jail, fines, or both. So it's not like he can ignore it. But some of the comments that have come out there against LIN Wood include CATTURD, hence the title. CATTURD's very popular on social medias across the board, and also on X. Okay, so I'm just going to give both sides to it. I'm not defending one way or another. I just think it's really, at a time like this, we have to pull back from what we initially thought of somebody and find out what's really going on by what other people are saying, what they're saying for themselves. So I've got that covered here, and I think it's really important. Hey, D-Dog, good to see you too, sir. So right here on CATTURD, on X, this is what CATTURD had to say about LIN Wood. He said, he or she, CATTURD, said, I refused to be on a podcast one time because LIN Wood was on it. I do not want my name associated with him, and this was years ago. And what's happening now doesn't surprise me a bit. And then CATTURD precursed it by saying, at first I liked him. Then a few years ago, he started saying things so crazy I couldn't deal with it anymore. So that's CATTURD's opinion on LIN Wood and what's coming out with the subpoena that he received here in Fulton County. Then you go on to Marjorie Taylor Greene, who posted on that as well and commented and said, we know they had a fallout. Well, I'm going to say, I know they had a fallout a while ago. We all know this, right? Him and her, LIN Wood and Marjorie, were going back and forth about different things going on. And, they just stopped being friends or acquaintances and really just, I guess, lost respect for each other. But Marjorie Taylor Greene came out and stated that people need to listen to CATTURD more. And she said, what a crook. So that's exactly what she had to say. She thinks that LIN Wood is a crook, and she commented on CATTURD's comment on X. Hey, Jen, good to see you too. And Garrett. The other thing, Laura Logan responded on X as well. And Laura Logan, this is what she had to say, true colors, as she shared a repost of the Patriot Voice stating, lawyer LIN Wood is cooperating with Georgia case against Trump. So the Patriot Voice out there is another big popular person who's had different events and held different events as well. He's got a channel called the Patriot Voice, and he's saying that LIN Wood is cooperating with Georgia in the case against Trump. Well, the thing is, with that's like a half truth. Yes, he is, because he has to with that subpoena. So he has been subpoenaed, and I just stated if you don't comply with the subpoena, you can face all kinds of issues. So that's a little bit of a headline grab, I think. People have a right to their opinions, of course, but I'm just going to put both sides out there and what people are saying. Then we have Pete Santilli. I don't know if you guys know him, but he has a podcast. He's on X as well. He had a headline titled regarding his show, and this is what he had to say. He said, "Nut job LIN Wood is informant against Trump in Georgia." I don't think that's really a fair statement. That's his opinion, and it is a title grab to get somebody to watch your show for sure. We all know that people do use titles and headlines in order to get the views or the grabs, or, get the views flowing and sharing it across the board. I didn't watch his show, to be fair and honest. I just was catching the grab of what he had to say about LIN Wood calling him a nut job. So, he's an informant against Trump. He's been subpoenaed. He hasn't said a word yet. So how can you say that's an informant against Trump? So that's what I'm saying. Hey, Patriot Starfighter, good to see you. That we have to find some balance and some truth. We've got to pull back and look at what's being said, like I said, and who's attacking who and why. Really, against LIN Wood, the attacks are ruthless against him just because the subpoena came out. And no matter what we feel about someone, we're looking for facts and truth. And to me, it's crazy that the kind of attacks that came out, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I've been a supporter of hers on and off, but, she said, hey, what a crook. So what happens there? We have a tendency to believe who it is we believe in, right? So if we believe in Marjorie, we're going to believe what she has to say about him being a crook and not investigating for ourselves. So that's my appeal here, is for people just to investigate on your own. Anybody can say anything about anyone. And guess what? Opinions do change as well. Because at one time or another, there were a lot of people that like Trump. Now they don't. A book that I can recommend, if you guys haven't had a chance to see it, is I just got from a friend of mine. It's called Letters to Trump. And what's very fascinating about this is these are just the letters and notes that Trump has accumulated over the years from different people, right? So it wasn't even Trump's idea to do this book. But as you read through it, you see the different things that people like Trump for, what they're thanking him for. And he doesn't say in there who is a friend or who is not, per se. But it's just, you can use your own discernment and see what they had to say about Trump, what they garnered from him, and some of them that are still sticking by his side and some of them aren't now, and you wonder why. So that's what I'm saying. People do change their opinion for different reasons, and that's understandable. But you have to ask yourself why. Is it a selfish gain or loss that they're dealing with? Is what they have to say truthful or not? So on the other side of this, these attacks that are going against LIN Wood, I'm going to read through what LIN Wood had to say about this as he posted on his Telegram page. There were different media inquiries to LIN Wood as well regarding this. So you can listen to how they ask the question and how LIN Wood responds to the question. And some of the wording of the questions these so-called media journalists ask and the way they ask it is very provocative, per se. And it's not a fair and balanced way. It's almost accusatory from the get-go. And, I'm just saying, from our point of view, if we're dealing with this, we wouldn't like this either. And I'm not pro or con either way, but I'm just saying this is how tilted media coverage or so-called journalism has come across, that anybody can say anything at any time. Yeah, you can say that's a freedom of speech, but we in the social media, or we as representing different facts out there have to represent both sides. If we're just opinionated and barfing out the same stuff, one-sided stuff all the time, that's not allowing people to come up with the facts and coming to their own conclusions. We expect them to parrot what we say, feel what we feel, or think the way we think. And that's very lopsided and can be very dangerous. And that's actually what we're fighting against out there, right? the way the policies are out there, the way the administration is out there, because they're supposedly against us as American citizens, right? And we're fighting that. So we don't need to suffocate voices. What we need to do is keep digging through these voices and trying to find the truth. So LIN Wood states there was a Fulton County state witness list, and one of the questions says, any comment on this revelation that Fani Willis wants to use your testimony against Sidney Powell? He says, I do not know why I'm being subpoenaed. Follow-up question. If you are successfully subpoenaed and forced to testify, would you answer the DA's questions if you thought they might harm Trump? LIN Wood responded, I have no knowledge that I believe would harm President Trump. I will answer all questions truthfully. The question, do you intend to fight the subpoena? He answers, no. Would it be accurate to say you are pro-MAGA? It would be accurate to say that I am a follower of Jesus Christ who supports Trump. Thanks. You are welcome. And that was one exchange that he posted, LIN Wood posted on his Telegram. Another media query questioned and said, did you flip on Trump? And he said, no, I have not flipped on President Trump. I have no idea why I'm being called as a witness in the Powell case. I have no firsthand knowledge concerning the criminal case as it is being described in the media. Thank you, LIN Wood. Then a man named Nick Moradouin from Newsweek responded and reached out to ask questions. Hey, Chris Gilbert. And it says, Lynn, I'm a Newsweek reporter reaching out regarding you being a Georgia state witness in relation to Fani Willis's investigation 19-person indictment. Is this also why you retired your bar license in July prior to the indictment being issued? Any comments via phone and email are appreciated. Thank you in advance. And LIN Wood responded, my retirement had nothing to do with the DA's case in Georgia. I do not know why I'm listed as a witness. So there you have it. You have the different attacks that are going against LIN Wood, and because of the subpoena, and some are calling him flipping and all this. This is how rumors get started. It hasn't even taken place yet. He hasn't uttered a word in the subpoena in this case. He hasn't gone before them yet. He was just simply subpoenaed, and these people are all out lopsiding it, banning and going against him. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know what I think right now at this point. All I know is I'm not going to anchor in anybody on what I think about anybody. I'm going to step back and I'm going to try to find the truth from both sides and then just make educated decisions from that point forward. Because like I said, in this game of whatever is going on, this fight for the country, some people call it a game of chess, some people call it many different things. This late in this game, in this fight, we really have to pay attention and make sure that we are doing the best we can do to get the correct information out there, period. That's all we can do is being an honest person, having both ends, both sides of the scale, and seeing who says what about who and why. Now we're going to go ahead and go to Biden and what he's up to. So there's an article that Biden, that I'm going to read, that his new thing that he is doing is creating a federal office for gun violence prevention. So there's gun control groups that have demanded for a long time that Biden takes action against gun violence without Congress, right? Well, right there, that doesn't sound very good. So reading through this article that has come through Fox News, actually, Biden does like a 3-minute little video that you can actually look through. And it says that he's going to announce the creation of the first ever federal office of gun violence prevention, and a win for gun control groups, according to multiple reports. White House Staff Secretary Stephanie Feldman, who is a longtime Biden aide with expertise on firearm issues, is leading this effort. Okay, so Feldman previously worked on the Domestic Policy Council and oversees the gun policy portfolio at the White House. Okay, so the White House, the Community Justice Action Fund, and Everytown for Gun Safety did not immediately respond for requests for a comment about this. But since Biden took office, the gun control groups have lobbied the president for an executive action on firearms, including declaring a national emergency on gun violence. And we all know what that means, right? They're pressuring him and pressuring a lot of people these gun control people. In January, a coalition of 117 groups sent a letter to the president demanding the creation of a federal office of gun violence prevention, a $5 billion fund for community violence intervention programs, and enforcement of the ban on foreign-made weapons, tighter federal trade commission regulations on firearm marketing, education campaigns on gun safety, and a detailed plan on the enactment of the Safer Communities Act passed last year. Unfortunately, gun deaths and injuries continue to ravage our country, impacting Asian American, Black, and Brown communities and neighborhoods all across the country, the groups wrote to Biden. While Congress must continue to prioritize gun violence prevention, you have an opportunity to act boldly by announcing a comprehensive plan of action to reduce gun deaths at the State of the Union, February 7th, 2023. So this is the letter that they wrote to him, and they're pressuring him for this. This is what his big thing and big deal is that he's doing here. So in the video that you read through or listen and watch through, he says, this is what Biden says in the video. And like I said, we can take it or leave it, and we're going to see if it's true or not. We know what's happening across the country with gun violence, but listen to what he says in the video. He says the answer is not to defund law enforcement, but to provide them with resources, training, and to be the partners that communities need. $350 billion, he said, he provided for states and cities that can be used to retain and hire police officers for pay and overtime and bonuses, expanding benefits for disabled first responders, and to keep communities safe. So my question is, what is going on in these communities? Because we all are well aware that gun violence, theft, and chaos robberies are running rampant and are pretty much the norm in a lot of communities, unfortunately. So my thing is, why in the heck, if he's put 350 billion in, where are we seeing the results of this monies? That would be great if the monies are there and they're put into action. But remember, a lot of these democratic cities and stuff were calling for defund the police. They've changed the laws where it's like catch and release these prisoners, and they become repeat offenders who abuse the system. They're the ones that are causing the gun violence. Securing the borders, taken to the streets to get illegal guns off them, to me would be a solution and money well spent. How about hardening the laws about these offenders who create these gun violence crimes against churches and churches, schools, children, and buildings where communities aren't safe? We've seen tons of videos out there about people that just go into stores and grab racks of clothes, or they clean off shelves in department stores or drug stores, and they're not to touch them. The police are not to engage in that because they don't consider that a serious crime. It is a serious crime because what happens is when people have no repercussions for the illegal actions they take, they're going to do it more often and more often. So to me, with Biden coming out with this, in theory, it sounds good. It tickles the ear. And the people that are pro-Biden, I guess, are going to buy it and believe into it. But then you have to take the other side of it and look at the reality of what we're seeing out there across the country in these cities. It's repeat offenders over and over. Some of them have such a long list. It's disgusting. Then they say, well, it's overcrowding in jails, et cetera, et cetera. I just think that it really works that if people know they're going to face serious consequences for the crimes they commit, they just aren't going to be as encouraged to commit them. Where now, to me, it feels like a free for all is really what it is. And then the other thing that Biden is up to, if you didn't read about this as well, is he's unveiling a massive government work program to fight global warming. And there's an article that came out on Fox News about that. And this is what's interesting about this. So he planned on signing the executive order this week, and it's going to establish a federal workforce training and service initiative as part of his administration efforts to fight climate change. So his so-called American Climate Corps are going to create and mobilize a new diverse generation, listen to this, of more than 20,000 Americans who are going to be trained and put to work on a conservation, clean energy, and environmental justice projects all across the world or country. The ultimate goal of the program is to pave the way for members of the Corps to find jobs in the public and private sector. And the American Climate Corps is a new initiative that will work on a wide range of projects that tackle climate change. So they're saying that it's going to include restoring coastal wetlands to protect communities from storm surges and flooding, deploying clean energy, managing forests to improve health. Well, we know that they've put a ban on a lot of places managing forest, hence why we've had so many forest fires out there, because if you do not clean up the garbage around there, the debris, the dead branches, all that, the fires, it's easy for them to catch fire. So we know that those initiatives across the country have not been used. So now they're going to implement them. But we've seen what's happened across the country in the last few months with wildfires. Then they're going to implement energy efficient solutions to cut energy bills for hardworking families and more, supposedly. So they want high quality employment opportunities in the public and private sectors. But this is the catch-22, is they are not requiring anybody to have experience in this whatsoever. And the climate advisor, Ali Ziyadi, at a news conference in 2021 was saying that this is a wonderful opportunity that young people everywhere should feel empowered by this victory and continue demanding the change that we need. So he's trying to gear up enthusiasm for young people and not have any experience out there to create this new governmental program. So my question is, if we're doing that and we have people that don't have any experience in this, and we have a lot of these illegals that are coming through, what is our workforce going to look like out there? So that is going to take us to this border issue. So we are well aware that there's hundreds of illegals that are crossing from hundreds of countries by the tens of thousands. And it's even more so daily since that Title 42 was dropped. And we're seeing it in videos. I saw a video the other day that there's 116 or more boats a day that are plugging down the river through their Mexican-US border, that they're transporting the immigrants across the country. We know that there's busloads of them that have been going on, dumped everywhere, that there's train cargoes of hundreds and thousands of these illegal immigrants that are coming through. And this is what's sad about this as well. On top of all, Texas Governor Greg Abbott posted pictures of Eagle Pass where the Texas had installed a razor wire across the border there to stop illegal crossings. But the Biden administration people went and cut the wires. So they reopened the floodgates again for the illegals to cross through there. So Abbott comes out and says that he immediately deployed more Texas National Guard to repel the crossings and install more razor wire. I don't know about you, but she shouldn't be doing this and facing this alone. He shouldn't have to reinstall wire that Biden's administrative people have cut. So you have to ask yourself, what the heck is going on and why is this happening, over and over again? Let's say, they're putting up wires, and how many videos have we seen and how many times have we seen Kamala and Biden and all his administration people come out and say, we have a safe and secure border. You can go back through and look at footage over and over. We have a safe and secure border. Over and over, they tell us that. Well, when the Texas governor tries to make it more secure with this razor wire, his people come out and they slice it and tear it apart so more people can get through. And then another thing, when the White House press secretary, Jean-Pierre, was asked her stance on 10,000 people illegally crossing the border in a single day, she tried to answer that question with a question. And then she said, forget it. I tried to answer it. We're going to just step away from this. So we're constantly getting zero answers from even the White House press secretary. Nobody has a stance on this other than them coming out and say we have safe and secure borders. It was an absolute lie. Anybody out there can just do a little bit of field investigating and see that they're lying about this. So it makes you wonder. I have to say, where do they want all these people to go? Think of how many millions of people, extra people we have here. Where do they want them to go? When you look at the footage now, they are encamped in these facilities that are supposed to be holding them and house them, but they're overpacked. There's no room for them. They're just overflowing, waiting. And what are they waiting for? Where are they going to go? I mean, I don't understand. And the White House isn't coming out giving any statements on where they expect these huge amount of people to go. We know that they're dumping them off left and right all across the country. They're not going to be able to afford apartments on their own. They're not going to be able to afford housing and stuff on their own. So a thought I had on all this was another reason they want the open borders is they want to get enough workers in here so they can work the government work program Biden's putting forth, this ushering forth of this government work program where he's saying no experience required. No experience. It's really, is it all a well laid out plan? So now with all these immigrants here, we have to take care of them, right? We have to give them food, housing, lodging, work. And how about all the diseases, drugs, guns being snuck through that they're bringing in? And we see these encampments across the country that are not safe and they're not healthy. These kids are being subject to this kind of living out there, just waiting to be imported where, in what kind of house, and how much money is this costing us? It's insanity. You know, the administration just really doesn't feel the urgency to close the borders at all and allow them to keep coming in. But there is one thing that I saw, one solution, one tiny little solution that they're coming up with, you guys, regarding the housing of these people. And that is a military grade base camp that's opening up in Chicago. It's going to cost $29 million. And this is where they're going to house these people in military grade base camps in Chicago. I'm not sure exactly where, but I wonder if this is a temporary site to see how it's going to work so they can do this all across the country. So once again, our military, our money, our tax dollars are going for the illegal immigrants who are going to take over the jobs, who don't have experience in a lot of things, that are probably going to take the jobs that Biden so-called claims that the youth is going to be able to take in this government program that he has opening up. And that's what he's going to do. They're going to do. So it isn't just for the votes. It is for taking over the jobs as well, because what's going to happen is they're going to have to pay less than people who have experience, aren't they? And if he says in this government job program that he's willing to train people, that's it in a nutshell as well. And that is going to tie into this next article that I have regarding AI that came out. So it seems like everything's like almost like a well laid out plan to me. And like I said, don't take my word for it. The Hill came out with this article. And like I said, we read about it ourselves and we look out there and we try to put these pieces together of what is really going on. It doesn't matter if it's Biden or Trump. What matters is what is going for or against the American citizen for this country. Okay, so you look at the policies, who's doing what and why. And it just doesn't paint a very optimistic picture. Let's put it that way. So this article that came out in the Hill, it came out yesterday. It says nearly 1 in 5 jobs are highly exposed to or require skills that can largely be performed by generative artificial intelligence, according to a new report from the American job search website Indeed. And we all know about Indeed because that's where we're supposed to go to apply for a lot of these jobs now. You don't even really get a chance to meet in person. And you know, I know from firsthand experience through my own children and through friends that they apply on Indeed and a lot of times they get zero response. They have to go follow up with a manager at the place of business and try to get a conversation with them and try to push forth an interview with them. Because if you look at it, if there's thousands of people that apply for a job, it's just a bunch of papers, right? What do? Just randomly pull out one to give an interview or something. There's no follow-up. So therein, the AI part of it. Gone mostly are the days where you filled out an application, you turned it in, it was a face-to-face thing, and the manager had control over hiring you or not. Where a lot of times now, it's these massive corporations where it has to go up to the chain. And if the manager says that, you know, or the AI, like it says here, picks your your application out, it goes up to the higher powers that be, and then they will siphon it back down in an email or something to their manager. Then you get the interview. So that process has become long and tedious, even though there's help wanted signs everywhere. It doesn't seem like people are staffed enough to work to keep their businesses open. A lot of places around me here have limited hours, limited staff, and it has gone down to the AI. You're lucky if you have one cashier. So as we continue on through this article, it says about 19.8% of jobs listed on Indeed were categorized as highly exposed to the rapidly expanding form of AI, like ChatGPT, that can generate original content. Indeed's AI at Work report found. However, the vast majority of jobs face more limited exposure to generative AI, with 45.7% of the positions considered moderately exposed to the technology and 34.6% considered minimally exposed. So there's no doubt that AI is a powerful leap in technology that will impact all jobs, particularly those within the tech sector. Now, what does that tell you about the tech sector? So we've got these illegals coming in that aren't educated per se, that they will use in the low income jobs, the low paying jobs. But what about all these people who are in the tech industry, who've gone to college, who are in debt from college? And it says tech industry is the way to go. Now it's saying in this article that these AI are in competition with the tech sector. So what's going to happen to the labor market as a whole of all these people if AI takes over that? So it says in this article, the research shows that generative AI is less likely to replace an entire job, but rather serve as a tool to augment or streamline parts of jobs. I don't know about that. So the Indeed report categorized jobs as highly, moderately, or minimally exposed to generative AI based on the portion of necessary skills the technology could effectively perform. And we all know if you go into that AI chat GPT, you can type in a sentence and it can write a whole report for you. Or you can say, tell me about the best places to visit in Italy. It pulls it all out, right? So even writing different things for a job or work, different speeches you may need to write, you can type in a topic and that AI is going to spit it all out for you. Therein, here we go with eliminating jobs with writers as far as editing and all that kind of stuff as well. So it says generative AI was proficient at 80% or more of the required skills in highly exposed positions. So AI is already 80% efficient, and 50% or more of skills in moderately exposed positions, and less than 50% of skills in minimally exposed positions. So this report found that software development jobs were the most exposed to generative AI, with the technology capable of performing, listen to this, 95% of the skills required for such positions. So AI can take over 95% of software development jobs that are available out there, or that people may be going to school for now. And what's going to happen to that? It's going to eliminate how many of those jobs? IT operations and help desk jobs, mathematic jobs, and information design and documentation jobs also sat at the top end of the spectrum for potential exposure to generative AI. So positions, listen to this, positions that can be performed remotely were also considered more vulnerable to the new technology, implying those of us that are comfortable or not at working from home, or maybe can't, it's not as easy for us because we have a handicap to get out there to a job, who are wonderfully happy because we can sit at home and do our jobs. Guess what? Those are the jobs that have one of the highest exposures to being pretty much eliminated, and more, they call it, instead of eliminated, they say vulnerable to the new technology. So it says driving jobs sat at the other end of the spectrum, at least exposed to generative AI. So it says that technology, AI, as far as driving, are only able to perform 29% of the job's necessary skills. And then it says beauty, wellness, personal care, home healthcare jobs, nursing are at the lowest levels of exposure to some of these jobs. So to me, that's only one article, but it's terrifying to me to think what a wide compass AI is already expanding and covering into. We were laughed at and told we were idiots for thinking AI could do anything and take anything over. And now all of a sudden, it's in the supermarkets or the big retail stores. It's hard to find somebody. A lot of the stores look sloppy and bad because they don't have the staff in there to replace hangers, to load the clothes back up, just to keep it clean and neat, get product off the floor that gets dropped, whatever it may be, because there's hardly any humans in there, right? It's all AI or self-checkout. It's absolutely ridiculous. And then we've seen the videos out there of the stores that have, it's all 24 hours, 7 days a week, it's open, but it has cameras and stuff. And you walk in and that scans the chip that's in your hand where you can get your product, pay for it, and leave. And there's not even one human around. So people laughed at us. However, it seems like the AI generation is definitely here and it's expanding quickly. And even with the driving aspect of it, I've already seen videos out there of the self-driving cars. We know it with Tesla, but there's Ubers. I've seen videos of these cars that are being tested where people get in and they're the Ubers and there's no driver in it. I don't know that I will ever be comfortable with that. But so that eliminates the taxi service or these people that are Uber drivers now. Taxis are really hard to come by anymore. It's just like a dying thing here anyways, most across the country where people are Ubers. And that's what? It's the mom and pops, grandparents, retired people that are Uber drivers that are just doing it to do something in their lives, make extra money, whatever it may be. At least that's my experience in the Uber drivers I met. So that's going to eliminate them as well. So my point is, through all this, between the illegals and the AI, where does that leave the people and citizens of our country? What are we going to do for jobs? All this time and money and effort spent to get into college and through college and get these degrees, and we're in debt, and we're going to have to fight tooth and nail for jobs. And it seems like they are not increasing jobs. They are eliminating jobs with robotics and everything else. So I wasn't happy to hear about that article either. And then another thing that came out today that I wanted to cover, Zelensky, if you haven't heard this, President Zelensky has asked Marina Abramovic to be an ambassador for Ukraine to lend her voice and help rebuild schools in the country. Yes, in that country. Now, if you don't know who Maria is, I suggest you look her up. I really don't want to cover that. Let's just put it this way. You better say a prayer and have a I don't know. Let's just say you better be cautious. Don't have children in the room and stuff like that. Let's make sure that you're mentally prepared through prayer to find out when you research her, what she is, who she is, what she believes in, and what she creates as an artist. Look at what her main elements as an artist are. And this is who Zelensky asked to represent the schools and help rebuild in his country and be an ambassador. I just never saw anything more ridiculous in my life. It came out in the Telegraph today. Look her up. It's Marina Abramovic, or look up the story and you can find her name through there. But I would highly suggest that you research that and you start putting pieces together. Because, people claim, oh, artists are artists. It's just art. And that goes from the music industry, right, to the clothing industry, the actors, etc. That's their creativeness running rampant. And they had the freedom to be artists. And you're making more of it than you are. Oh, really? Go look at her. Look at what she does, like I said. And see if that's really a wise decision for Zelensky to make, for her to be the ambassador to rebuild schools in that country. Also, Zelensky, if you haven't seen, was asked by a reporter. He was at the White House recently. Remember the meeting this week with Biden, because he's asking for more money for his country. In a House meeting, a reporter was asking Biden and Zelensky and others and saying, hey, Mr. Zelensky, are you confident that Congress is going to support you and your efforts to get this supplemental aid that you came here asking for? And before Zelensky could answer, Biden piped in, and his answer was, there is no alternative. So Biden says there's no alternative but to keep supplying Zelensky and Ukraine with money, as much money as it takes, basically, because there's no other alternative to it. And I about fell out of my chair. When you hear this information and see it out of the people's mouths, you have to ask yourself, what in God's green earth are you thinking? Why are you just supplying more and more money to this country? And it is just about war. It's about making money and dealings and everything else. It isn't about the innocent people and the victims, the innocent people that are your average American citizens like you or I. It's a power play and it's a power game for the elites and the powers that be. Kamala was sitting next to Biden in this video when he responded, and she was just smirking her as her usual self. So that just was really disturbing for him to have the mindset that there is no alternative. If it is even his mindset, it might just be on written on his hand or a card that somebody told him in his earpiece, whatever it may be, that this is how it's going to be. And he's just following marching orders, which is what I believe. A couple more things here before we wrap it up, you guys. Trump came out and said that he's going to skip the second GOP debate. Instead, he's going to be at a rally with striking auto workers in Detroit. So D-Dog, he's going to be there in Detroit. He said it's going to be on September 27th, that he's going to include a primetime speech the same night as the GOP's convene in California. The GOP debate, the second one's going to be at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library and Museum. Basically, he's going to go there. He's going to go to Detroit. He's going to talk to the striking union, auto workers. And basically, he said it won't just be for the auto workers. The rally won't be. He's going to pack the room with more than 500 tradesmen, including plumbers, pipe fitters, and electricians. And he was blasting Biden this past week and accusing him of not supporting the interests of the American auto workers by promoting electric cars, which is very true. My father was an auto worker for Ford in Michigan, where I grew up. And, you know, the auto workers are an amazing group of family, blue collar Americans, family, love God, country, family. And it's true, electric vehicles have no part in that. So basically, the United Auto Workers, the comment that Trump wrote on social media, Truth Social Sunday, said the United Auto Workers are being sold down the drain with this electric car scam. He says because they're going to be made in China under Joe's China First policy. So really, the strike is against Detroit's big three automakers, Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis. It's entered its fourth day on Monday. There's about 13,000 combined workers represented by the United Auto Workers Union. They're refusing to work at three factories unless they're offered better wages and benefits. So the UAW is demanding a 40% pay raise for workers and a 32-hour work week. But you know, the United Auto Workers Union notably refused to endorse Biden in the spring, if you remember. President Sean Fain expressing serious concerns about his administration's preference for electrical vehicles. So even he knows that that's obviously he's going to be against that with Biden. But Fain also came out and charged that a second Trump presidency would be a disaster. So I don't know what that's about. I didn't read any more into that other than he's not for Biden expressing the electric vehicles, and he's not for Trump either. I don't understand that. But basically, Trump's going to go there. So that's where he's going to be. And I think that's really commendable because once again, what is Trump doing? Trump's going out there and supporting the average worker, the average blue collar worker, the yous and me's of the world. And he's continuing that. He hasn't strayed away from that. Back in the day when he was, you know, a builder, he would always visit his construction workers and the average construction worker. He wasn't always dealing with the higher ups. He always wanted to be in the field with the average person who he knew was the backbone of his businesses and keeping the moral and the morality up, I guess you would say, their morals and keeping them happy and keeping them knowing that he appreciated the hard work that they did. And You know, we don't get any of that from this administration. When is the last time anyone from this administration has come down and patted the backs of the average American citizen? They don't. They're always sympathetic to the illegals and to the people of Ukraine, but they don't have time for us. And I think people are just pretty much fed up with that. I'm going to end this with kind of a little joke thing. That I actually agreed with something Susan Collins, the senator of Maine, said. You would think that we wouldn't really agree with her. We know that really she hasn't been really an advocate for the side that she's supposed to represent, but she came in and said that she believes that she's going to have to start wearing a bikini for the Senate votes. Because if you guys remember or heard, I covered that the dress code for everybody on the Senate floor has gone to the wayside, that Schumer's put in an act to say, okay, because Fetterman likes to dress in oversized hoodies and gym shorts, he's allowed to do that. So Susan Collins said, I guess I'm going to have to wear a bikini on the Senate floor when I go for the Senate votes. But she said that really was a joke. She was saying that really the bar has lowered so much. And this is where I agree with her for the dress code. She said, this is absolutely obnoxious and ridiculous. And once again, it is against, you know, representing this country the way that we should do, with a little class and dignity. She said that, you know, we should have business suits on, and we should wear dresses, and we should be dressed up well when we go into the chamber. So I admire her for that. And I read that somebody, I forget who it was putting in an action to reinstate the dress code for the Senate floor and for the representatives, because I don't know about you, but her wearing a bikini, nothing against her, that would really be something. And she goes, really, I would never do that, but I just know that I'm able to, with the way this dress code is. She goes, I would be able to do that. And I know dress code doesn't seem like a big deal with everything we're dealing with, but it's just a part of that puzzle. When we look at what was happening on the White House lawns with the nakedness and debauchery earlier this summer, with people just being naked and having a good time on the White House lawn, that lowered the standard in the bar. There is a respect and admiration that we have for the different offices of this country, and the same for the military. You know, when you have the military and you have some of these people that are in the military that decide that they're going to wear a pearl necklace, these men, and heels and a skirt, our standards are lowering. I'm sorry, they really are. We need to keep a certain standard and a certain bar of respectability, because it is the slippery slope we talk about. Because, you know, you could take that all the way across the way we speak, the way we talk, if we just want to swear and curse and all the time, or the way we dress, if we just want to be promiscuous in the way we dress, no matter where we're going, we just want to, you know, fling derogatory things out at people all the time. It's very just trashy. So I agree with Susan Collins on that we need to up that bar back. And I just believe that there is a certain standard for certain things. There's just certain morals and values that we've allowed to go away that I believe we should come back with. And you can call me a conservative on that, and that's okay. So with that, I'm going to say thank you, each and every one of you, for joining me this evening for this show. I hope you all have a joyous and fun weekend. You know, it's really any more lasting through the week with your sanity is a sense of accomplishment, I feel. And so the weekend, if you're off, really is the time to take some time off, decompress, chill out. You know, enjoy a barbecue, a nice dinner, enjoy some time with friends, and maybe just not talk about any of this and just get back to fishing, enjoying nature, whatever it may be, just living simple and getting our minds out of all this stuff, because boy, it can sure drive you crazy and it can be very exhausting. You know, take the weekend off to refuel. And some people do work the weekend. I work the weekend. I have to work tomorrow too, but there's still time in that weekend for some of us that we can take the time off. Maybe your weekend is through the week on a Monday or whatever, a Tuesday. My point is, just make sure that you take care of you and your mental health and your sanity by sharing a laugh, sharing a joke, or sharing a good meal with somebody that you have in your circle, and it'll keep you It'll keep you sane. So with that, once again, thank you. I love each and every one of you. Thanks for joining me, and I will talk to you soon on the next one, you guys. Bye-bye.